What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. Hope you guys are having a good Friday. And we have our final injury report going into the weekend from the Seahawks, and we also have a pretty good idea of what's going on over there in Carolina as well. Now, I'm happy to report this is not as bad as it could have been. I did mention yesterday that often you will see an ugly injury report throughout the week for an NFL team, and then by Friday things kind of clear up, and you find out that a lot of the players who were held out of practice or limited in practice were just getting treated delicately, and there wasn't that much fear they were going to miss the game. That doesn't mean it's all good news, of course. There is some bad stuff in here as well. I got the tweet from Bob Condotta with the injury report. Let's go ahead and go over it. It's still not exactly where we want to be. This is definitely a pretty beat up team right now, but we should have enough. And later today, we might find out some further details from Carroll about exactly what we might be dealing with in this game in terms of some of the questionable guys. So let's start with the guys who are out. The guys who are definitely not playing on Sunday. Charles Cross. I think we all knew that one. Not surprising. I haven't heard much about Jason Peters, though. I wonder if Jason Peters will be active. We might learn that from Pete a little bit later. But Cross is out. I don't think this should surprise anybody. Wouldn't shock me if he was out until after the bye week. Coby Bryant also out. He was a new addition to the injury report this week now. He's not playing that well so far this year. I understand that. I know that a lot of people are going to say a good riddance to bad rubbish, but Coby Bryant, I don't believe that somebody is going to be able to pop off the practice squad and just start playing better than him. So I I I think there is some weight there. As much as Coby Bryant isn't playing all that well right now, he's playing out of position, and the reason why he's playing out of position is because we still feel like he's better than the guys behind him. So it's a loss. It's a loss of a player who was going to play a decent amount of healthy. So I don't love that. So Cross and Coby have been crossed off the list for this game. Now we do have two players listed in the doubtful category, and in my experience, doubtful means out. It's very rare you see a player listed as doubtful and then they play. It happens every now and then, but I feel like NFL says 25%. I feel like it's more 10%, especially these days when teams are going to be playing things very cautiously and carefully. I think that if somebody's listed as doubtful, you can kind of forget about it. So, Reek Woolen, we already knew that he probably wasn't going to play in this game, so that's not surprising. That's not in any way different from what we expected at the start of the week when Carroll was talking about how it was going to be really hard for him to get back for this. However, Will Dissly showing up on this report as doubtful is maybe not, maybe after yesterday it was kind of expected, but still definitely disappointing. Dissly's been really good so far this year. The silver lining is that it is a shoulder injury. It's not a leg injury or a knee injury or anything like that. If it was one of those lower body injuries, this would be the trend because Dissly always gets lower body injuries. The upper body injury, little bit less worrisome, I feel like. So I don't expect him to play in this game. That's why we got Brady Russell. So we're probably going to see some Brady Russell in this game. And obviously, we got Fanton Parkinson, both those guys capable of doing some pretty good stuff. So, not really going to miss Dissly terribly for one game, but I'm hoping he gets back soon because, like I said, he was off to a really good start this year, and we're going to need him. Questionable. This is where the list gets long. However, like I said about doubtful, I feel like questionable usually means you play. Not always, of course, but the NFL generally says like questionable means 50%. I feel like in reality it's more like 65%. Obviously, that still leaves a lot of room for players who are questionable to not play, but if you're on this list, I kind of feel like your odds are in your favor. So we got DK Metcalf with the ribs injury. I expect him to play. I think it's just a question of pain. Will he be able to stay in the game for the whole game? That I don't know. That I'm not so sure about because I do think it's a question of pain tolerance with him. So if it starts to hurt even more, then you got a problem. Questionable is Julian Love as well with a hamstring injury. That one, I don't know. This is something that came up this week. And again, I'll say what I said of Coby Bryant of Julian Love. I know he's not playing well, but I'm not sitting here telling you that I think Jarek Reed's going to be able to come off the bench play his first ever NFL defensive action and be better than Julian Love. I don't think Julian Love is suddenly a bad player, so the loss is non-trivial if he can't go. Jarran Reed, questionable with a groin injury, and it's really time to start kind of wondering if there's something real going there. This is not just a veteran rest situation here for Jarran Reed like I was kind of hoping it was. Like you can see that Damian Lewis is not listed here. That tells me that that was more of a veteran rest day thing than it was him possibly not being able to play in this game. But Jarran Reed seems like there's really something going on here, and we cannot afford to lose that guy. Not at all. Not even for a second. I know Jarran Reed isn't Vince Wilfork. He's not Chris Jones or anything like that, but he's played really well for us so far this year. And our defensive line depth is such that we desperately need him. So, not happy to see that. Also, not happy to see Quandre Diggs questionable with a hamstring injury of his own. And the nature of the hamstring injury is it's just really hard to know. So, I'm worried. I'm concerned about some of these injuries. These things are piling up. I know we're playing a pretty lackluster offense. I know we're getting to play a quarterback with very little arm strength left in his body. I know that we've got these very lackluster receivers, not that great running. Like, it's not a good offense, but we're starting to stack up some losses here that we can't afford. Like, both of our starting safeties are questionable. Odds are good that one of them can't play, or if they do play, they don't play that well, and then what do you got? Phil Haynes also questionable with a calf injury. If he can't go, then I guess it's Bradford time. I think Haynes will play, but he's already kind of on the fence anyway as a player, right? So if Phil Haynes goes out there with an injury and isn't anywhere near 100%, well, what's going to happen then? That's not good. That's a good defensive line we're dealing with in Carolina. Shai Tuttle, Brian Burns, if you want to count him, Justin Houston, Gross Matos, of course, Derek Brown, kind of the big one for a guy like Phil Haynes, maybe. So that's going to be a problem. Jamal Adams, questionable. So, hey, he's got a chance to play. Again, I feel like he won't. That's just my gut feeling, though. At this point, you got to give him a chance. You definitely got to give him a chance. And the fact that he's questionable this week means that if he doesn't play this week, he will probably play the next week. So we're getting there with Jamal Adams. Great news there. DJ Dallas also questionable with an illness. So this is something that probably happened today. Generally speaking, NFL players, when they have an illness, they're ready to go by game day. They get pumped full of drugs. They get pumped full of antibiotics. Whatever they need to get feeling good, they're going to get it, and they get out there. That's my experience. So I expect him to be out there. We do need him, kind of, because McIntosh is out. So hopefully he is, but that is your questionable list. It is relatively substantial. Now, real quick on the Panthers side, there's very little to report. We already knew that Bryce Young was out. They made it official today. He is out. No Bryce Young. We're dealing with Andy Dalton. I'll talk more about that later. But other than that, they're pretty clean. Like, Brian Burns expected to play. Justin Houston expected to play. Miles Sanders was not on the injury report. It's a very clean and simple injury report. They don't have Bryce Young. It looks like they got everybody else, though. So that's all there is to say there. We're beat up. There's no way around it. But Carroll even said earlier today, we've taken steps to prepare for some of the players that we think we're not going to have in this game. So it's got to be enough to get a win. Maybe it's not enough for you to win by a massive margin. Maybe it's not enough for you to blow them out or make it look easy. But you got to find a way to make it be enough. All right, I will see you guys later today. We're going to talk more about the Andy Dalton stuff. Go Hawks. There's your injury report. Carroll will fill us in a little more later.